I'm back in Denpasar once again, and I really love exploring Denpasar. I've been doing quite a bit of it over the past 6 months, and today I'm exploring a road called Jalan Sutoyo. That's where I'm going to start, and it's what's sort of unofficially called the Flower Street. Well, that's what I'm calling it anyway. I don't know if anyone else calls it that, but I call it the Flower Street because there are lots of flower shops here, and I've bought flowers here before, and the prices that you get are really decent. Because there's so much competition here, there are lots of different options for finding the flowers that you want at the price you want, different quality levels as well, different styles of flowers. Sometimes they're a little bit weedy and sticky looking, and they're a bit cheaper, or you can get the real sort of big blooms that cost a lot more, but still very cheap by Western standards. This is what the shops kind of look like, these sorts of things. Yeah, different types of flowers in each shop. You've got roses there, you've got all, I mean, I'm not a flower expert, so all I know is, I know lilies and I know roses, that's about it. Like, I don't know the rest of them. But there are heaps of them there, like in that shop, there's just like little arrangements that they've got pre-made, but you can also get arrangements done. And that's the other thing here, is that you've got some people who are really good at arranging. Of course, you might want to visit them instead of someone who's hopeless at doing it. Look at that, look at those roses. Aren't they nice ones? Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, awesome. I was actually going to buy lilies today if I can find them. Because Susan's name derives from the word lily, like in ancient times. So that's her flower. And I know that lilies are associated with death in Australia or in the West. But in Indonesia, it's totally different. The culture here associates lilies with a much more positive thing. You might even have them at weddings. It's a more uplifting thing to have a lily. That's sort of the thing that I sometimes struggle with, because my culture says it's a death wish. Susan's culture says, no, it's really cool. And trying to get your head around it, sometimes a little bit difficult. I mean, I've sort of just allowed myself to succumb to some of these oddities, or what we perceive as oddities over the years. And I now sort of accept them as just being normal here. But it's interesting, when you first start seeing some of these things, you go, no, you can't do that. You can't buy lilies. It's like you're going to a funeral. But over time, you realise that it's not that big a deal. Like, these are just norms in our own countries, and they're not norms everywhere. The other confusing thing about this is that lilies and a lot of other flowers have different names here, so you've got to try and learn all those. Like, lily is bunga bakung, apparently. This is a pretty big shop. Hello. Ada bunga bakung? Ya, nggak ada kosong. Kosong. Ada di sini? Mungkin ada ya, atau gimana? Oh ya, okay, yeah, makasih. Right. Doesn't know if they've got them around here. They've kosong there. What kosong means. And this is an interesting one. The word kosong literally means like zero or empty. So many roses around, red roses. They're cool, aren't they? Yeah, kosong means sort of like empty or zero, but when someone says kosong at a shop, they mean out of stock. But it doesn't mean they ever had it in the first place. It's not like, oh, we usually have stock, but then there's none at the moment. It's sort of like just means we don't have any, sorry. So when they say kosong, it's sort of like quite a polite way of saying, nah, we don't have them. I've actually just sped past most of where those flower shops are. They're all concentrated further to the south, near the Grand Lucky supermarket. So if you come up here, like the Grand Lucky supermarket's close by. There's even a hotel called the Hotel Mawar. Mawar is one of those very floral terms as well that you'll hear around the place. But yeah, so I will go back there afterwards, after I've made this video and had a bit of a walk around Denpasar. I'll come back there and buy some flowers from Susan. Actually, I'm not going to get the lilies, it looks like, but I'll get something. Now, in this area, there's also a place called Banjar Gemma. Now, that's a famous Banjar because they are one of the Banjars that have the most famous ogo when it comes around. And I wonder if that's still got it here. Oh, they do. They do. I'm just going to head in here and just have a look at this ogo. Oh, still sort of there. There it is. Wow, look at it. Wow, that is crazy. Some kids in there. I don't want to look too weird by filming kids. There's just a huge, big statue there. That's got part of its sort of arms and legs still there, but that's pretty cool. That's one of the famous ones in this area. I've actually just turned around because there is a cafe here that I wouldn't mind dropping into. And while I go past here, I'll just talk a bit about prices. So there, they call a bouquet, it's spelt like bucket, so bouquet, that starts from 35,000. I've bought flowers before that are enough just for a vase in the house for 50,000, and they're very beautiful and they last a while. So for 50,000 you can get something quite good. Obviously when you start getting into the more expensive flowers, better quality, maybe a bit of a floral arrangement, you might get up to 100,000. But it's pretty cheap. All right, this is a place I was looking at and it's closed. Tetuek Sang Mong, open at 11. I probably should have done my research and probably looked at it when I walked past the first time. So I'm walking back the other way again. Lucky the footpaths along here are pretty good. So outside the tourist areas, this is what the sort of the rubbish situation is getting like in some of these areas. Yeah, people just dumping rubbish everywhere. It's what they say, jorok, yeah, kotor. It's just, yeah, really, it's really poor form. I mean, there aren't a lot of choices for people. There are some choices, and people are obviously taking the easy choice now, but because rubbish isn't being picked up as readily as it used to be, it's really becoming problematic in some areas. I hope it gets resolved. I think it will. It'll have to get resolved, but I think it's going to be an ongoing issue for a while, at least until, I don't know, they come up with some other solution. But there aren't too many good solutions, to be honest, except to build a new dump. Like another big rubbish pile here. You won't see this in Sanur because obviously it gets priority. If you look at that, people are just making a makeshift rubbish dump on the side of the road. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Hello. I don't get too frustrated about it. I mean, it sounds like frustration, I guess. It's more a, yeah, it's more of a passion thing, I think, because I've experienced this sort of stuff before in Java. Like, it happens from time to time where the rubbish situation gets out of control a little bit, or people are dumping it in the gutters and it causes floods. I mean, that's what happens here in Indonesia with rubbish. It's just not controlled and never has been controlled. It can be okay, it can be handled okay, but it's never been sort of Western standard, you know, for rubbish collection. But nothing is it? I'm coming up to Jalan Hasanuddin on my left, and I know if I turn left here, I bump into some coffee shops because I haven't had breakfast yet, or a coffee. So I'm sort of making a beeline. I actually have had a coffee this morning, but my second coffee, I haven't had that. And I just need to go down there and get some, like a little bite to eat if they've got something as well. I know there's some good cafes down there that I haven't visited before. Just getting back to the point about complaining about stuff. I've got to be very careful to make it sound like I'm not complaining, because you don't want to be one of those grumpy old guys. And I don't really get frustrated with stuff, but I am passionate about it. And one of the things is, the first time I came to Bali, there were heaps of problems here. And we sort of laughed them off. It was a bit cute, you know? And they are cute in some ways. But when they start impacting you day after day after day after day, it can be a bit frustrating for some people. And that's part of the process of adapting to how things are done here in Indonesia. And some people never adapt. And I think that might mean that some people's lives are a bit miserable because they never adapt. And it means, I mean, I will never accept that it's a good idea to be dumping rubbish everywhere. I'll never accept that. But I'll accept that there are sometimes circumstances that occur here that make it very difficult for things to function properly. And there's no one person to blame for it. I think that's the main story, isn't it? It's a bit unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And we choose to live here and choose to holiday here. And those things that we thought were cute back in the day, maybe not so much now. Like the first thing I remember when I first came to Bali was getting off the aeroplane, and they had an aero bridge. And then you came off the aero bridge, and instead of going into the terminal, they made you go down the stairs and catch a bus. But the bus only went like 30 metres. So you get on the bus, they load it up, takes about 10 minutes to load it up. Everyone got on the bus and they drove about 30 metres, and then you got off the bus back into the terminal. And I remember everyone on the plane, and they're probably Bali regulars before I went there the first time, started groaning and laughing. You know, this is just the way it is here. I think that's okay to have that attitude sometimes. Okay, this place is called Rumah. Let's go in here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Good. Kopi ya. Mau pesan apa ya? Cappuccino, large cappuccino. Terus, hot. Maybe the pastry there, that chocolate one. Yeah, panna chocolate. Pakai kris ya untuk bayar. So this is a pretty cheap place. I'm getting a cappuccino and a pastry for 58,800, which I think is great value. Like, that's really good value, isn't it? I mean, that's the sort of differences you have here in Bali. There's just huge differences between the different places you go. It's not just tourist versus local prices, but it's also location based as well. And even sometimes locals go to places that are more expensive than tourist places. So it's not a really clear-cut thing. Of course, there's more often that you get local places that are cheaper, but it's not clear-cut like that. But it's not always like that. But the big question is it any good? So we'll check it out. Okay, here's my coffee. This is on the side of a really busy road, so if it gets a little bit like wild in terms of the noise, you'll know why, because it's just, that's what it is out there. I actually don't mind it, but for a video it might be a bit ordinary. That gula merah literally translates to red sugar. If I see one of those on the side of my cup, I often think negatively about the coffee before I've even tasted it. So let's give it a go. Temperature's good. I like it. That is a good coffee. I think for the price, very hard to beat. Yeah, good one. If I'm walking around here in the future, I'll definitely come into rumah again. Kasih. Yeah. Panas ya. Okay, makasih. All right, he's heated it up for me. Looking forward to this. It'll be a big, crunchy, crispy one. Oh yeah, she's hot. I mean, you don't really need to watch me eating a croissant, but here goes anyway. Okay, let's continue on. I'm going to walk down Jalan Hasanuddin. I'm going to try and get across this road here, which looks like it's pretty difficult. So there's a zebra crossing here, but that's non-functional in Indonesia. So you've got to do it a bit brave. Don't just charge across. I see a lot of people say, "I just charge across," but you've got to be a little bit more careful than that. Got the yeah, people say, "Oh no, the traffic will go around you," and it does sometimes, but it's not always. Like, people get knocked over all the time. Just got to be a little bit careful. I mean, I charged across it a little bit there and sort of had a look at what people were doing, but yeah, just be careful going across those roads. Just a word on those, I don't even know where I am now. What's this? Some sort of mall of some sort? I'll just go in there. Yeah, so getting back to the story about those zebra crossings. So there is a rule that you're supposed to stop at zebra crossings if you're in a vehicle, but I've actually never seen them functional before, except when some guy charges out with a flag, maybe at the front of a school, or if there's a big group of people who huddle together and charge off in one big go, and then the driver of the car is scared that the car might get damaged by hitting so many people at once. Otherwise, they don't really work like that. Hello. Hello. So this is a gold street. All along here is these gold shops. And they're really good quality gold. You can buy and sell. If you've got gold that you want to get rid of, you can come here and get it melted down like old jewellery or old heirlooms that don't really mean too much these days to you. But you can also buy a heap of stuff here as well. And you can either buy blocks, you can buy jewellery, buy simple necklaces. They can do everything along this street. So all along here, there are shops. Now, I don't have any recommendations about which the good ones are and which ones are not good ones, but it's fairly competitive. And I reckon that most people are going to come up with something they're happy with at these places. I guess my only concern would be, like not getting ripped off with the quality, because if we don't know how to test the gold, how do we know? But I mean, it's probably the same everywhere anyway. How do you know? Yeah, but I've got friends who come here to do their gold purchases. So they'll do things like they'll get a necklace and wear it for a couple of years, and after they're sick of it, they'll come and get it melted down and buy a new one in a different shape or whatever. Just wanted to go back to that issue about the straddling the East and West cultures, and how we sort of sometimes live in two worlds when we live here in Bali, and certainly being married to an Indonesian, you straddle both worlds for sure. And how that sometimes it makes it quite difficult to know which cultural norms you should take on board and which ones you should ditch. Like for example, there's a great one which is about wearing hats inside. And I know a lot of people on the video over the years have sort of said, look, don't wear your hat inside. And I still do. I still eat with my hat on and that sort of stuff. Not all the time, but I don't want to argue with people in the comments about it because sometimes it's difficult to understand. But basically, there is no culture here in Indonesia of taking your hat off indoors. And just because we think that's the right way to do it in Australia doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it here. So it's not really offensive here at all. And it's not rude here. It's not even like an issue at all here. So that's why I would sort of do that here, because we're in Indonesia, I'm married to an Indonesian, that's just the way we do things. Now, I do understand that for some people, that's going to look a bit odd because you're watching this at home, maybe in a different country where those cultural norms are deeply embedded. So that happens with a lot of different things, by the way. Like, you know, in some countries, like it's, if you've had a really tasty meal, like you burp, you know? But if you did that in Australia, even though you're from that original country, people are going to look at you and go, what are you doing? Like, that's so rude. But if you're in their country, like if you let rip a big burp after a meal, they'd go, oh, this guy's fitting right in. So it is weird because these cultural norms are somehow who we are. It's who we're made to be when we're growing up. We sort of live by these rules, and when they get sort of turned on their head by moving to a different place, it is quite, well, it's quite uncomfortable, isn't it? I think that's why there's quite often friction between locals and foreigners in many countries, not just here, but even in Australia. When foreigners go to another country and act the way that they do in their own country, that's where real friction can sort of arise. All right, we're still going down Jalan Hasanuddin here. I've nearly got bumped off the road there because someone's put a pot plant in the middle of the footpath, and I smashed into it and nearly bumped myself onto the road. So let's get across here without getting run over. Here we go. All right, Gordon. Gordon is actually the word, and there's a few different ways you can say that, and I think it's Dutch. It's curtain. Yeah, we can also say gordeng. Gordon. It's obviously one of those Dutch. There's heaps of Dutch words around, like so many Dutch words. Like if you look at a car and all the parts on a car, most parts on a car are Dutch words, like literal Dutch words, like versnelling, ritting, spoor, steer, ram. Like they're words that were sort of made up while the Dutch were in charge of Indonesia. So of course, the Indonesians aren't going to come up with their own words. They're just Dutch words. There's also a bunch of loan words that sort of, well, not even loan words really, words that were transferred across from Arabic as Arabic influence sort of permeated Indonesia from a long time ago, but really when the Islamic thing sort of happened in the 1500s. And a lot of them you can really easily tell by seeing the words KH together. If you see KH together in an Indonesian word, you can be fairly certain it's an Arabic sourced word. For example, there's a word, akhir, yeah? Akhir. And you don't have to say it like that sound, you know that sound, you might get it for lock in Scottish, or in Arabic they've got that real sound. You don't need to do that in Indonesian. You don't have to say akhir. You say akhir. And it means final. It's the root word, it means final. But I can say akhirnya, and it means finally. Or I can say terakhir, and it means most final. Oh, what's that? A little clips. Oh, little handicraft type things. Like all these little things here, like hair clips. Oh, that's 20,000 for a bag of those. Oh, it's pretty cheap. Lots of little knick-knacky type stuff. There's another word. It's khusus. Yeah? Khusus. You don't say khusus like that. You say khusus, basically. You're probably supposed to say the H a little bit, but it's pretty hard to say a word like that, where you've got K at the start, the second letter's H. What are you supposed to say? Khusus? I mean, I think if you're Arabic, you would be doing the khusus thing, but Indonesians say khusus. It means special, not normal. And you can say, if you say khususnya, especially, it means especially. Yeah? So I really like tomatoes, especially the red ones. Saya sangat suka tomat, khususnya yang merah. A lot of the times with these words, you can get into arguments with people about them because sometimes there may be an official way to say it. There might be a real, like akhir has a really specific way that you're supposed to say it according to the government dictionary, maybe. But the way people say it on the street might be different. And that's part of the thing about Indonesian language. You've got the formal way, the correct way that is taught when you go to a language school, but you've got the language on the street, which is reality. And you need to know both of them. And the reason you need to know both of them is because without knowing the real proper way to say it, taking those shortcuts can often lead to problems when you're speaking to different people. And an example of that would be, if I'm speaking to the president, I'm going to be using the best language I've got, using all those formal words and not really delving into my street language at all. This is a good one. Pangkas rambut. It's a hairdresser. Halo, biasanya Pak, berapa untuk potong rambut biasanya? 20. 20, makasih Pak. Yeah, there you go. 20,000 to get your hair cut. Now that's cheap, isn't it? Just spotted a market over here. It's called Pasar Pemecutan. Let's have a look. It's this place over here. Never heard of this one before. That haircut's pretty cheap, isn't it? First time I was getting haircuts in Bandung, it was costing me 7,000. And every time I went there, like one side would be shaved really short. The other one was a bit longer, and quite noticeably so. Like the guy was a really old guy and he was just giving it a lash, you know? Let's have a bit of a look through here. It's like a big shed, which is formed as a market. Yeah, so it was pretty funny. I mean, I used to go to this guy because he was cheap and he's a nice guy. Hello. Oh, look at all those ones, all the different tubers that you can get. And then you've got a lot of, I don't know what those are. Lots of different tubers, and then I don't even know if that's a tuber or a rhizome. I probably should learn, because I'm doing a lot more of these videos where I'm wandering through markets, I should learn what each one of those things are. Pretty cool, eh? Pretty cool. Love that. Hello. Yeah, pretty cool. These markets are usually where you can go to get cheaper, you know, fruit and veg. So I actually don't go to a traditional market for my fruit. I do it from a shop that's owned by a local. It's not the supermarket, so it's a little bit cheaper than a supermarket, but it's not as cheap as the market, that's for sure. I know, oh, hello, you're cute. Hello, oh, you're so cute. Market cat. I know that Kelly, who I interviewed not so long ago, oh, cake shop. Halo. Oh. Kue apa? Kue bolu? Enggak. Kue.
Ya, kue bolu.
Ya, pandan, ya.
Pandan.
Ya.
Sudah pintar banget.
Ya. Jajanan pasar.
Jajan basah.
Jajan basah ya. Jaje. Yeah. Jaje. Lots of different little snacks here, and they would be beautiful. I know they would be beautiful. Makasih ya. Okay. Yeah. Keep walking. I know Kelly, who I interviewed for my video a couple of weeks ago now, she does her shopping for lots of those fruits and veggies. I might go down here. I'm just wandering wildly now. She does all her shopping at the local market, which is interesting because she can get much better prices there than she can get anywhere else. Now in Sanur, the different places that you can go for fruit and veg, Pasar Intaran, which is the big market, the main market in the area. And then there's also Pasar Sindul, which is the one that most people will be familiar with, that has a little night market there. near the main road basically, at the northern end of town. I met a lady who told me that she reckons the prices at Pasar Sindhu are better than they are at Pasar Intaran, which I find to be quite strange because Intaran's got a lot more competition, a much bigger market, a lot more customers. So, but she's a local, she knows what she's doing. So that's also something to, but that's also something to keep in mind as well. All right, what do we got here? Oh, Bli bottle beer. So you come across these things, these little places, there's just a beer cellar. And they'll sell all these cases of beer. They might even deliver them to you. And I wonder what the price is. I can't see it. But yeah, they often do things like, they'll do, like that place does gas and water as well at that place. They'll often do that, and they'll give you they'll give you a cheaper price if you return the bottles. So what most people do when it comes to beer here, they'll get one carton delivered at the start, which costs full price, and then every carton after that, it'll be a swap over of the old bottles and getting a new one, and because you're giving the old bottles back to them, you get a much cheaper price. Okay, we're coming up here to a bunch of coconut husks being dried on the side of the road. I dare to say that they may be used for burning and then cooking food on top of. You get that really nice coconut husk smell and flavour sort of absorbing into your food when you do that, when you're grilling things like chicken on it. I've seen that done a few times on the side of the road, and it smells beautiful. Always interested to see these waterways, see what they look like. There's a little bit of rubbish in there, but there's not bags of it. I reckon if it rained though, there might be a few bags coming down there. I love it down here. I don't even know where I am. I love it. It's really quite central to Denpasar because I know that I've just come down Hasanuddin, which is a main road in town. But now I'm on this little side road. It feels just so nice to be in one of these local areas again. It's funny because when I first moved to Bali, one of the things I was going to do was move to an area like this. That was one of my plans because I'm more familiar with the local way of doing stuff around here. I wanted to be out of the area where there's lots of foreigners and into one of these areas. As it turns out, I ended up in an area with quite a few foreigners outside of this sort of area where it's more locals, but I'm really loving it. So I'm glad I've actually got the place I've got. I don't regret it one little bit. And I know some people that have lived in Indonesia a long time will often say things like, oh, don't live there. Too many foreigners, it's not local enough. And yeah, I get it, but I love it. Love living where I live in Sanur, and it's probably got the right balance for me at the moment. I could easily live in a place like this though, it wouldn't bother me. Oh, hello. What are you doing? Hello. It's okay. Little scared dog there. Well, I better get back to those flower shops. Oh, there's a flower shop there. I better get back to that flower shop or the flower road, look for some flowers for Susan and bring them home to her. It won't be lilies, I don't think, but it might be something like gerberas. They're pretty cool, aren't they? Thanks for coming along for the ride today here in Denpasar once again, and thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanur and the rest of Indonesia. I'll catch you next time, and sampai jumpa. A little postscript in my video, got myself some flowers. Nice little bouquet there. I just went into a random shop and asked the guy, look, can you make me up something for 50,000? He did it. I know what that, I've got 5 roses in there, and a bunch of other flowers just to make it look pretty good. And I think Susan's gonna be pretty happy with that. Catch you next time.